Right, it's 9 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining us. And I'm delighted to introduce my first speaker, Dianne Oberg. Would you like to unmute yourself and put your camera on, please, Dianne? Over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth, for getting us started so nicely. I bring a big hello from Canada, and especially from Dr. Jennifer Branch, who's the current president of the ISL, the International Association of School Librarianship, and also from our dean, Dr. Jennifer Tupper, who has given her support for the upcoming institute. Daryl asked me to muse a bit about the development of thought around inquiry. And I suppose that's because I've been working in this area since the 1980s. I first met Daryl and Jenny and their son Ruben at ISL conferences in Dubrovnik in 2019 and in Rome in 2023. My earliest days of teaching about inquiry, I really relied very heavily on Barbara Stripling's work. So a shout out to Barbara and congratulations on the new book that you and Daryl are preparing on inquiry. Inquiry as a conversation, which I think is a very powerful metaphor. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the development of the Alberta model and about one aspect of model implementation that's sometimes forgotten, I think, and that's the aspect of time. So to start off, in Alberta, we got our first school library policy in 1984, 40 years ago. It was called Focus on Learning, and at the top of the model was instruction. I think we needed a model right from the beginning. Focus on Learning went out into the professional community. It was very well implemented, but very soon we started getting complaints. Okay, it was all very well to write down and agree to the kinds of things we wanted students to learn. But there wasn't much in the document to really help teachers and teacher librarians do the work of instruction. And very soon after that, in 1990, we managed to get the resources as a community and working with the provincial government to develop an new and improved focus on research. And in this, there was explicit information about how to implement the model. Of course, I think it always takes several times. If you think about any model that's been developed, for example, the instructional model that has developed out of Carol Coulthard's work in developing a theoretical model, the information seeking process model. As soon as it came out, of course, I'm sure she had second thoughts about things she would like to have done differently. Well, the same thing happened for us in Alberta. I always laugh, it took us 3 times to get it even really halfway right. But we're pretty proud of the inquiry model, which was completed in 2004. And the reason for the very long space of time in between the two research and inquiry documents is that we were going through a time in the 90s of extreme budget cuts to education, both K-12 education and the university education. Two things we tried to do a better job of on the focus on inquiry model. We wanted to make it clear that reflecting on the process was important all the way through the model, not just at the end. And we wanted to make sure that there was support for including feelings, the affective aspect of metacognition in the model. For us, and certainly for the people in the field, focus on inquiry really represented a transformation of thought and practice around inquiry. And here I'd like to give a shout out to all the grad students and all the practitioners in the field who kept us practical, who kept us honest in terms of the demands of a school and of teaching, and not assuming that everybody would have all of the resources that was needed or all of the background information. So although Jennifer Branch and I were the prime leads on the development of inquiry, we relied very heavily on the researchers from the past and at the time, and we continue to move forward based on the work of the practitioners. This has been a 20-year process. Why did it take so long? Well, any simple changes in education take 5 to 7 years to implement. If you manage to implement something in a couple of years, that's a miracle. You really have to understand when you're working in a new area that it's going to take time. And the process that you went through in terms of transformation of your thought and your practice has to be worked through by the people who are in the schools and who are working with students. I mentioned that time was an aspect that a lot of people haven't really considered very much. And every once in a while, I do get the question, well, how long should an inquiry project take? And my thought is always, well, it depends. As so many things in life, it depends. But as a general rule, more time than you think. And I'm going to talk about time in terms of planning, in terms of reflecting on the process, and in terms of evaluating. So starting with planning. This is a phase of the Alberta model, and it comes under other names in other models like exploration, for example, that we need to take a lot of time. And the reason for it is we are looking to personalize inquiry, to make the inquiry process a worthwhile activity for the students and to help them focus on a personal question. And it's an opportunity to find resources and think about what you're going to need to move forward. In terms of the whole planning process, I've found that people who are most successful with the inquiry project take time for the students to develop their own questions. So the whole project really takes that, it can't be squeezed into a couple of days or even a couple of weeks in the library. Their students need time to think about the questions, to talk with their teacher, to talk with the librarian, to check with their families. Do we have any resources about this? Have we seen anything on TV? We have to build up students' background, especially if they don't already have that background. And they need to have opportunity to wonder, to think about some models use wonder as part of that planning phase that we have in focus on inquiry. The second area of time that I think we need to take more time for is reflecting on the process, which is a model, part of the Alberta model. It really means we're going to take time to try to develop students' metacognitive skills. And that means not just thinking about thinking, but thinking about affective or domain, the feeling. Um, and this should be done regularly throughout the process. So we ask students to think about, how did they learn best? What are they having trouble with? Where are they in the process? Um, what, how are they feeling about the content? Do they think they can transfer anything from what they're doing now to other learning situations? So reflecting on the process really leads to the final phase, which is evaluating. And evaluating is done not just at the end final product, but what did we learn in terms of the content? What do we learn in terms of the process? And what do we learn, how we learn about ourselves and how we learn the best? Daryl
Thanks.
talks about the
Sorry. Right.
aspects.
You got 5 minutes.
Yep. Okay. Daryl talks about considering person, task, and strategy, and I think that's a very good structure to use for reflecting on the process. It's a very powerful aspect of the model, and it's something that teachers and librarians don't automatically think of doing. I'd like to congratulate everybody who's involved in moving the Institute forward. I'm sure that it will um, help you transform your understanding and your practice. Um, and I look forward to that. It's an exciting endeavor, and congratulations to everybody involved. And we do have a few minutes, so if you've got a question, something you've been thinking about, I'd be happy to try and give you some ideas.
Thank you so much, Dianne. That was really, really useful and powerful and really got us started this morning. I will give people a couple of minutes to have a think and see if they want to ask any questions. But we are very grateful that you've got up at some ridiculous, or maybe you've not gone to bed yet. What time is it over there?
I did have a nap after dinner tonight.
But what is it? It's about 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, yes, it's
Oh,
2 o'clock in the morning, yes.
you are amazing.
Club before, so I couldn't miss that.
Well, we are extremely grateful that you have joined us this morning. It is very quiet, so we will let people just mull over what you've thought about, and we will thank you very much. And we will move on and invite our next speaker up. So thank you very much, Dianne,
You're most welcome.
for your time and for starting us off so well.